Hello people, and welcome to the second episode of Old Stand Obituary. This is the series, of course, where we take a look at old stands in YBA that have yet to get reworked or really touched at all in a very long time, and we kind of analyze how does it hold up today, both in the amount of fun and how it fits into the current meta, or at least as far as I understand the current meta being mostly an outsider. Now, two things before we actually start proper. Number one, if it sounds like my voice is miserable and sick, that's because I have been sick since like Thursday and just been miserable throughout the whole weekend. So if it sounds like I'm sick, well, that's because I sort of still am. I'm going to be recording the video anyway because, well, my job, but yeah, sorry about that. And the other thing is just how old am I at this point? How long have I been around? Because, like, do you guys understand what exactly I was asking for when I asked for suggestions for the next one? Because the commenter for this one did a good job. I'll throw the comment on screen right now. I can't exactly remember the username of the person who put it up. But they asked for King Crimson and King Crimson Requiem, and they mentioned that the stuff hasn't been changed since like 2020, 2021. And that's true. That stuff is really, really old. It has seen basically no changes. And number one, it was the number one comment. And number two, I just thought it would be a really good place to start for two reasons that I'll get into in a second. But there were a lot of comments that were not this. Now, mind you, there were some good ones. I had some people talking about Hermit Purple. I had some people talking about Cream, which would be pretty good. The World, Star Platinum. Those ones, you know, kind of make sense. But then I had some people that I won't out them, but I promise you they're there and you can go find them. But I had people asking me to take a look at reworked stands for Old Stand Obituary. And maybe they just haven't been around for a while. That's my assumption. It's like the new gen of YBA players, and they're probably some of the only people left still playing the game, quite honestly. But I had people ask me about Six Pistols, which, like, again, maybe I'm just old, but Six Pistols got a rework a long time ago. So I consider that a reworked stand. I don't consider that old. I mean, it is old, but all things considered, it's not like archaic like old Six Pistols was. It's gotten visual reworks and animation reworks and stuff. It doesn't really look that old. At least in my opinion, it doesn't. I had some people asking me about Magician's Red, which again, that's another stand. I think that one's even more recent. Magician's Red got a rework. That stand used to be like a complete disaster. I had to make a whole video about how that stand was completely screwed. Yeah, that's gotten a rework. Why would I mean, I guess I could technically talk about it because it's old, but it wouldn't be in the faith of the series that we're making. And last but not least, I got some people asking me about Killer Queen. And while Killer Queen didn't really get like a full rework, no, it's not true. It basically did. It basically did get a full rework. So Killer Queen is another one of those stands where, like, they reworked that stand. I guess people, they weren't around back when you could, like, instant bomb place and you could put bombs on people on the floor and, you know, that kind of stuff. Way old, really old Killer Queen. But yeah, I don't have any plans on going over reworked stands. So you're still more than welcome to leave some suggestions in the comments. I get the feeling that Cream and or Star Platinum are going to win because those were the pretty much the front runners last time, other than King Crimson and King Crimson Requiem. I mean, maybe King Crimson Requiem, we'll see. That's up to you guys. But regardless, don't ask for rework stands. Come on, guys. Do a little bit of research if you haven't been around for a while, or maybe just don't suggest things if you haven't been around for a while. Because, yeah, those are not like that old. Anyways, King Crimson. Oh man, where do I start? I will not lie to you. I remember liking King Crimson a lot. So when I went into this, I thought that I was gonna have a pretty good time with it. I was like, this is one of those old stands that really genuinely holds up. And I'm gonna be able to go in, have a good time with this stand, and come out of this once again saying, just like with the Sticky Fingers video, that it's gonna be a shame when they go through and rework this whole stand, because whatever they replace it with is gonna be broken and unfun and uninteresting, and it will ruin this unique and fun play style, and nope, that's not what happened at all. So chalk it up. on the Eclipse Takes a Massive L board, because that's what I took this time around. Nope, unlike the Sticky Fingers video, King Crimson was not fun. Not really much at all. And I think I know why it wasn't very much fun at all. I have a sinking suspicion that King Crimson was not fun because back in old YBA, it had a lot of moves that helped you win M1 trades or sort of initiate your own M1 trades. So Epitaph, you could just pop during M1 trades and it would instantly put you behind the person and stun them and give you free combos. And also, when you had Time Erase, you could use that in conjunction with spec moves and stuff to try to, pull out an M1 trade or get some free damage. On top of that, you had Chop as well, so when people went to go engage you, you could use Chop as super armor through some of their M1s, and once again, it would win you the trade. But in the current state of YBA, where M1 trades really aren't nearly as emphasized as they used to be, this stand is just hella boring. Like, seriously. It's uninteresting on top of being not very much fun. I don't know if I was just jaded before. I don't know if I just hadn't played enough JoJo games on the Roblox platform or just consumed JoJo media in general. But King Crimson has 2 moves. Technically 3. King Crimson has Chop and it has Impale. And neither of those moves are very interesting. Technically, it has Time Erase and Epitaph. But Epitaph hardly even classifies as a move. It's good, yeah, but it's not like a super fun move to interact with. And Time Erase, compared to the last time I used it, and compared to other games in the genre like AUT and TCA, is so boring. The visual applications of this move is it dyes the screen red and plays a sound effect. That's it. That's all it does. You have all these hella cool effects from other games where it like completely warps the environment, destroys the environment, shows like after images of your character moving around, or shows where the enemy character is moving in space like an AUT, and then you have YBAs where it dyes the screen red. Like, seriously? This is supposed to be King Crimson's staple ultimate move, and it is the most underwhelming thing on the entire planet. Now, in terms of those offensive moves, like I said, Impale is just like extremely underwhelming. It's basically like a beatdown because it's an execution move, except for the difference is that there's like barely any substance here. Now, I get it. It's an Impale. You can't do a whole lot of interesting things with it. Oh, wait, yes, you can. Oh, look-see here. We've got our good friends over at TCA. Look at this Impale animation. Hey, look, it's actually interesting and not excruciatingly boring. But, like, I don't know, man. I feel kind of hollow inside almost talking about this stand just because, like I said, I went in and I was like, I'm gonna have a good time, and I was just bored to tears. I'm shocked that stands like this were not higher up on the priority list when it came to being reworked. Like, I don't know how the hell Sticky Fingers was on a higher peg than this stand. I guess maybe it's because more people use King Crimson, so they didn't want to rework a stand that lots of people were using. Maybe? That's like my best guess, because it seems like they rework a lot of the stands that are just like, nobody's using them and they're just kind of boring. But this is a stand where people are probably kind of using it, and I'm sure it works to some extent meta-wise, but good lord, is it uninteresting. So, I guess the only thing that I really haven't talked about at this point is the meta applications, or generally speaking, how good is King Crimson now? Well, it seemed pretty alright when I used it. Like I said already, I didn't have as much fun as I did when I used Sticky Fingers, but that being said, I found just about as much success. I think I lost maybe 2 games when I played for about an hour, which, all things considered, not too bad. Epitaph is still a very handy tool, especially when it comes to going up against people with, just mash buttons, mash buttons, mash buttons, because unsurprisingly, counters are good against people mashing buttons. The other thing was that, as usual, I'm playing Vampire once again because I don't like any of the other specs, And when it came to that, I had 2 counters, a little cooldown between them, which is new to me, and thank God they did that. But regardless, I had 2 counters to work with, which oftentimes worked quite well against the button mashers left here on the platform. Now, Impale is one of those moves where it's pretty quick, so most people won't parry it, but if you're a player like me, you're always paranoid of getting parried, so you have a tendency of not using this move and basically writing it off unless you get a block break. And because of that, I found myself pretty rarely using Impale unless I could directly get it off of a confirm. Using Vampire, I could confirm it off of my Bruford Sword Slash, so that was kind of handy, and I used that quite a bit. And there's also, fun fact, a way to confirm it off of your chop. That's something I didn't know, and I think it's been like that literally forever. I don't think that's a new development. I think there's like a 1-frame window where you can true combo chop into Impale. I'm gonna get people in the comments that are gonna be like, Eclipse, that's a fake combo, it's not real. So just for the pretenses of those people, here it is happening against the blocking dummy, which is frame perfect. So now you can't tell me that I'm wrong and call me a liar, even though I test these things. You're welcome. But that's one of those things where it's such a frame specific trick that you're realistically not gonna pull that off very often. And you would also almost certainly have to anticipate landing the chop. So unless you were doing it during a combo and you can anticipate it and then time that perfectly, it's not gonna happen very often. So generally speaking, Impale got written off. Chop was really good though, because it had a very short cooldown. I could just kind of chuck it out whenever I wanted, and there were a lot of times where people would be button mashing on me, and I could just spam Chop, and suddenly their button mash is now my button mash, albeit with significantly less buttons. I think I gave myself the short end of the stick when it came to time erase. While technically time erase into Bruford Sword Slash can be a possibility, Bruford takes a while to come out, so usually people would dash or run away before the hitbox actually hit them. And because of that, lots of people didn't figure it out, but if they did, they could just sit there and block, and if I didn't have Bruford Sword Slash, there really wasn't a whole lot I could do other than trying to buffer moves or, get people to bait them into blocking and then go for a risky play with Impale. But as I've already said, I'm not a risk-oriented player anymore. I used to be. Good God, looking back on some of those old YBA videos, I play like such a bitch now. I used to, this is off topic, but I have to say it. For a lot of these videos, I looked back on some of my older videos to see, how I felt about stands and stuff back then. And I used to play like a psychopath. Like, I would just run out and throw out raw beatdowns, throw out raw parryable attacks. Now, if you watch my gameplay, you'll notice that I basically never do that. Like, unless it's a bingo challenge, how often do you guys see me throw out a parryable attack? Basically ever. I'm so paranoid of getting parried, I just don't use them. I just write them out of my kit. I guess it's kind of optimal sometimes, but sometimes I'll be playing against like a total trash can who doesn't block, and I'll just be not using moves that I could just be smashing them into the floor with. Anyways, got a little bit off track. Chop is good, pretty handy move to have, as I said. And with that, I've pretty much talked about all the moves that King Crimson has, because like I said, it basically doesn't have any. After this video, King Crimson has immediately jumped from probably the bottom of the barrel, just like, why would they want to rework this? This stand is great, to the very tippy top. Like, this is #1 on my list now. Admittedly, I haven't played some of the other ones that have been suggested to me, and I think King Crimson Requiem is going to suffer a lot of the same issues that this one has, maybe more of the same issues. But at the end of the day, yeah, King Crimson is like desperately crying to get reworked. And I never thought I'd say that on this series. I thought a lot of this series would be talking about how things are in good shape, but no, not this one. This one, it gets like an F. King Crimson is a complete and utter failure. If they're gonna be running with all these stands with a shitload of moves, and a whole bunch of buttons to push, you can't really have something like this. It's just, it'll work to some extent, but it sure as hell isn't gonna be very much fun. When all is said and done, I think that King Crimson failed for me because I've played TCA. TCA's King Crimson is a hell of a lot of fun, and it actually, has attacks. It's got a chop, impale, time erase, and epitaph, just like in YBA. But on top of those, it also has an eye jab, which is a blinding, block-breaking, true block break, and a super fun move to use, as well as erased attack, which is probably one of the most interesting attacks in any of these JoJo games I've played. And for any of you who haven't played TCA, erased attack is basically a move where if you hover your cursor over an enemy and you use the move, it'll put a little exclamation point above their head, and if they don't either block it or get out of range before a timer comes up, then it'll hit them and ragdoll them and send them away. It's a really interesting move because it comes out frame 1. It immediately forces some sort of interaction, whether it be trying to get away from the person or having to block. It can set up for block break setups and stuff. In general, it's just a really interesting and fun move to use. And so when you couple all of these moves together, you have a stand that's fun to play on top of being visually interesting. The time erase, aside from the sickening amount of screen shake every single time you use it, good God, Peter, why, is way more visually appealing to look at, on top of having music, and it's just like, I don't know how you can compare the two and even come close. So yeah, TCA's poisoned me on this one. And I imagine if I played AUT or any of these other games, they also would have poisoned me on this one, because YBA's King Crimson is a hell of a letdown. Anyways, that's the end of today's video. I don't have anything else to say about King Crimson, but I'll be curious about your thoughts in the comments below. I think there's a decent chance I could be in the minority on this one, because, like I said, I remember King Crimson being a stand that a lot of people liked and enjoyed, so maybe I've just been poisoned by these other games, and the people still on YBA absolutely love King Crimson. I would be kind of surprised, and maybe they just haven't played other games, but regardless, we'll see. Also remember to leave your suggestions for the next episode of this series. Like I said, I get the feeling it's going to be Cream or King Crimson Requiem, but you know what? I've been proven wrong before, so I could be proven wrong again. But yeah, that's all for today's video. So if you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.